Hello and welcome to the Redefining High Performance podcast. My name is Ty Bennett, and I'm excited to be back here with you this week as we dive into a little bit more of the research. This is going to be a short, quick episode. Last week, I brought you a deeper dive interview with Chad Hymas. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. It's a really powerful conversation. Chad was very vulnerable. He was very real. We talked in depth about some real struggles and some things that come up for him, even as someone who has literally been named as one of the 10 most inspirational people in the world. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. Today's episode is going to be short and sweet, just like most of the episodes, where I break down a specific aspect of the research. And my goal is to give you practical takeaways, something to think about, something to apply in your life in just a few short minutes. Before I do that, I have a fun announcement that I'm excited to share with you is my new book, Redefining High Performance, that's fleshing out all this research even more in depth. I'm excited about this book. It officially comes out on May 15th. So we'll share some more information as we get closer to that. In fact, we might even share a couple of excerpts from the audiobook as part of this podcast as well. And hopefully you'll get a copy of that. But I'm excited. It's come together incredibly well. I feel like it honestly is my best work. I'm excited for you to read it. This is a unique book because I actually begin and end the book with two different fables. And then in the middle is all of the chapters that break down all of this research and flush it out a little bit more in depth than what we're doing here. And I think the book reads really well. It's kind of fun. I think you take these two approaches of story. I think people learn from, remember, and retain because of stories. And the two fables, I think, are fantastic to teach some of these ideas, and hopefully will be impactful in the way that you learn them. They bring some of the ideas to life. And then strategy, right? We're going to break down the strategy of the drivers of high performance, the barriers to high performance, the mindsets that came out of the research, how we sustain high performance. There's some really good content in there. So May 15th, Redefining High Performance is going to be the new book, and can't wait to share that more with you. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the top 3 barriers to high performance. So in our research, we wanted to understand not just what drives high performance, but also what blocks it. What is it that keeps talented, capable people from reaching their full potential? Well, there's an MIT psychologist named Kurt Lewin, who's often called the father of social psychology. And he developed something that he called a force field analysis. His research proposed that every situation is held in balance by 2 opposing sets of forces. So there's the drivers, right? The motivators, what's pushing you towards this. And then the barriers, the things that are holding you back. And if those forces are equal, it's like pressing the gas pedal and the brake at the exact same time. You just kind of stay the same. So you're working hard, but you're actually not moving forward. Progress only happens when the power to move outweighs the power to stay the same. That's why it's important to understand what holds us back, the barriers to high performance. And that's why our research dove into that, is we want to be able to break those down and understand what they are. Here's an interesting thing to think about. When you take the top 3 barriers to high performance, the things that are holding people back from the highest levels of performance, it's interesting to note that they're not outside tools. This isn't like we're lacking in tools or technology. All of these are actually self-imposed limitations. The truth is we hold ourselves back. These are things that are happening in our mind and in our body, in our emotions, that are causing us to not move forward in the way that we would want to. The top 3 barriers are the fear of failure, taking criticism personally, and comparison. Fear of failure, taking criticism personally, and comparison. All 3 of those, they're things that we just struggle with internally. They hit our ego, right? And we all have an ego to some extent, If you think about it, fear of failure is ego's fear of looking bad. We don't want to look bad. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to be seen as failing. In fact, 25% of people said that they view failure in the workplace as a form of weakness. So culturally, we think of failure as a really bad thing, something to avoid. And yet the truth is it's unavoidable. It's part of the growth process, but it stops us. We hesitate, right? Taking criticism personally is the ego's fear of being wrong. We get defensive. We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be called out. We don't want somebody to point something out that maybe we could do better. Like it's hard to take that feedback and learn from it. Even if it's coming from somebody we trust, from a good place, it just brings up emotions inside of us. That's pretty natural. And comparison is ego's fear of not being enough. Right? We all compare ourselves to other people at different times. And because of that, we look at it and go, oh, God, why can they do that and I can't do that? And we get stuck in some of those thoughts. I think these three together, think about it, they create hesitation, they create defensiveness, and they create self-doubt. None of those move us toward progress. None of those move us towards higher performance. There's a story that was told about Houdini, the great magician. And he was once invited to go to this prison. And he said he could escape from any prison in the world, right? He could pick the lock or get out, however it was. And they put him in this prison cell and they set it all up. There were camera crews, everybody watching. And Houdini started to go to work on this lock. And he had hid this piece of metal in his clothing or whatever tools he had to do it. And he starts working on it and he's trying, he can't get it and he can't move forward. And he's getting literally no progress for hours of working on this to the point of exhaustion. He's sweating. And eventually he finally almost collapses against the door and it opens. And what he realized that day is that he was being held in that prison cell by his own limitation. He didn't realize that the door was not actually locked. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure if that's a true story. I feel like Houdini would have figured it out before then. But I think it also proves the point of the fact that most of the time, the barriers that we run into are pretty self-imposed. They're things that we're just personally struggling with. They're things that if we were to be able to process the emotion and look at it clearly, we could probably choose a different path forward and do a little bit better in terms of how we went about it, how we approached it, right? So this week, I want you to think about, be aware of where fear comes into play for you, where defensiveness comes into play, like taking criticism personally, where comparison comes into play for you, and recognize how those show up, where those show up. How do you eliminate some of those things? Like as an example, if you scrolling through social media are struggling with comparison all the time, maybe let's put a pause on that, right? Let's put a filter in place so that you don't have to deal with that on a regular basis. There's nothing wrong about that. That actually is going to serve you in a big way. But let's stop holding ourselves back and start performing at a higher level. I hope this is helpful to you. This is always fun to spend a few minutes and talk about some of the research, some of the things that we uncovered in the research and how that applies to our daily lives. If you haven't yet done so, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend, and I will be back again next week.